Now, what makes it so special for me is that when I was immersed in these crystal energies 1,000 feet below the Earth's surface, it started to change me. That was like a massive surge of energy. And literally, I felt like my life decided to take a 90-degree direction. And that's when I wanted to know. I wanted to know through my spiritual pursuits, why me? Why now? What was the assignment? What am I supposed to do with this? What does it mean? How does this help humanity?
Welcome, Leela. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Laura. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. I think we're going to have a really fun conversation today because I love crystals. And you've had a lot of amazing experiences with crystals and the services that you provide. Can you go and start with like your background? What brought you into being a gemologist and working with crystals?
Oh, thank you. Um, so my background, I was born and raised in El Paso, Texas, and we had a college there called Texas Western College, which was a mining college. So I
Mhm.
lived in a plethora of tremendous amount of minerals and a very ancient mountain range called the Franklin Mountains that are that kind of splits El Paso, Texas in half. It's I lived on the east side, and then there's a western side. These mountains are magnificent, majestic, and they have ancient fossils in them because it was all part of the Sea of Tethys. I'll try not to get too detailed yet. But when I was a kid, my family would take us to picnics into these canyons that were in these magnificent Franklin Mountains. And I would be picking up all these incredible rocks. So I fell in love with rocks when I was a very little girl. And I didn't know that that would really influence me because I was growing up in the desert, right? Near
Mhm.
White Sands Missile Range and New Mexico and Mexico. So it was an incredible time to explore, lots of fossils everywhere and wonderful types of like Carlsbad Caverns and Lechuguilla Caverns, which were incredible specimens of aragonite and calcite and gypsum. So it was, it really, I think, influenced a lot when I was a little girl. So moving forward, um, I moved to Arizona and I became an athlete. I was doing a lot of running, I did a lot of hiking in the Grand Canyon and Sedona and on northern Arizona and southern Arizona. And again, I just love that Southwest feel and that feeling of the energy in the rocks. So again, that was all leading up to a connection I had where I was invited to go into the selenite crystal caves of Mexico. Now they were just discovered in April of 2000, and I was approached in October of 2000. They didn't even know what they were and said, here are these images, hold on to them, and I'll get them back from you later because the Mexican government had wanted to find out if there was somebody on in the United States and a connection that they had through the Chihuahuan state government of taking images in those crystal caves. Nobody knew how to take them. Regular film or digital film would malfunction because it was 130 degrees, 100% humidity, very hot and very high temperature. So it just malfunctioned any kind of digital cameras. And that was in 2000. So by January of 2001, I was ready to return those first images that ever came out of those crystal caves. And when I looked at them, Laura, they looked like a fortress of Superman, right? Of solid.
Mhm.
I thought they were actually a mock-up of a movie set. I didn't believe that was real. Can you imagine? You're looking at something, this is 25 years ago, and you're going like, oh, that's not real. They just made a set design for some science, sci-fi movie. And no, I was assured they were real. They were real. And so hold on to these. And I had moved to Sedona because I was on a spiritual quest. And I write about that in my first book. And by January of 2001, I was ready to return these very first original images that had ever come out of these caves and this silver mine. And that's when I got the invitation. Well, you called just in the nick of time, Leela. Uh, Here's what we're doing. We're going to invite you to be part of this a government sanctified expedition. And this is what we're going to do. But it's dangerous. And the reason it's dangerous is that you can die in there. You can go unconscious because of the intense heat and humidity. And you're 1,000 feet below the Earth's surface. So we can get into that. So I did that. I said, yes, I want to do it. I was terrified. I was really, really scared. Again, it's all in my first book about my journey, how I got into the crystal caves and my spiritual path, because in 1997, when I moved to Northern California from Arizona, Laura, I became a hands-on healer. And so I started taking all these different courses to become not only certified as a massage practitioner, but many other types of intuitive energy massage, many different kinds of modalities, and Reiki. Because I came from a very linear background. I was a commercial real estate broker, and now I wanted to be a massage therapist. So you could see I was going through a spiritual change. I left Arizona to move to Northern California to study all these different modalities. So in 1997, I became a massage therapist. What happened after I went into those crystal caves is I took that information of being a massage therapist with the crystals, and I started working with energy, and I realized I don't have enough information. So in 2004, 2005, I enrolled in Gemological Institute of America in Carlsbad, California. And I started to study the graduate program of authenticating colored stones, diamonds, and cultured pearls. So by 2005, I became a GG, graduate gemologist, and that gave me the legitimacy to take those original images that we took when we explored in the cave, in those caves, and present this all over the United States, including the Smithsonian Institute and the Museum of Natural History in Los Angeles, the Perot Museum, at that time it was called, in Dallas, Texas, many mineral and rock shows like the Denver Mineral Show in Tucson. So I did a lot of work showing the original first images that ever came out of those caves, which I was climbing over. And no one had that. The next time anybody had any documentation was in 2007. So you could see we were way ahead of the curve in 2006. Now, what makes it so special for me is that when I was immersed in these crystal energies 1,000 feet below the Earth's surface, it started to change me. That was like a massive surge of energy. And literally, I felt like my life decided to take a 90-degree direction. And that's when I wanted to know. I wanted to know through my spiritual pursuits, why me? Why now? What was the assignment? What am I supposed to do with this? What does it mean? How does this help humanity? Right? Because I already knew by that time that I was awakening to understand we're all here with a purpose. We're all here. And it's your purpose could be gardening. It's all the same. It's all revered. It's all respected. It's all having the same effect. But to be the first explorer, the first woman explorer, American woman explorer, to explore these now known as the eighth geological wonder of the world, what was I supposed to do with that? That's a big assignment, right?
Yep.
That's a big assignment. So I started to work with, what was happening is I was starting to work with people who were on my table who were very sick, people who were mentally unstable. I'm sure you've seen many things yourself.
Yep.
I also had people who came to see me who were contactees.
Well, when you say contactees, could you elaborate on that?
So a contactee is someone who has had a phenomenon experience with contacting, being, having an experience of seeing, feeling, yeah, visual, I would say, audible. You're actually being contacted by an extraterrestrial or a non-human intelligence. Let's put it that way. Non-human intelligence. There's thousands and thousands of people, if not more than that. So they started to come find me, and I guess I found them. It's like a beeper. And they would come to see me because trying to assimilate these experiments or experiences in their lives is very difficult. Who do you talk to about that? When you have a otherworldly experience, even let's say you see angels, like those angel wings behind you,
Right.
how do you explain that to somebody? How do you even really assimilate that and integrate that into your own self? Where your ego wants to say, oh, that's, I want to invalidate that. My ego says, no, that's not important. That's not real. Oh, it's real. So I think after I went into the crystal caves, it really potentiated my ability to tune in, tap in, and help people to see. So it's like I took them on a journey. I didn't tell them what they were seeing, but I shone the light. That's what I do, like in a cave, and let them choose where to go and what they choose to see and experience.
That's
So
beautiful.
thank you. That's what I started. So now it's been over 30 years of a lot of hands-on healing, different talents and abilities, and really incorporating those crystals into that.
Nice. Yeah, crystals are amazing. When I was a child, I used to go around collecting rocks. And for whatever reason, my kids would bring me rocks and they would say, "You like rocks?" And I didn't really understand it. And it because we didn't, they were just normal rocks outside. But when it was after my near-death experience and I had a lot of series of awakenings that crystals were calling me. And then I was like, now this starts to make sense because I was able to pick out, it was really interesting. It was like a radar. I could sense every metaphysical shop in the area. And it was like they were calling me. I'm like, okay, I got to go down here and I got to go here. Every time I drove to a place, it was like, okay. And it was like at that point, they started calling me and I can feel the energy and vibration in them. And depending on which one they are. So, like you kind of, you can do healing with it. There's a lot of things that you can use them for.
But a lot of times people contact me and I said, I don't sell crystals for pretty things. That's a choice you make. They're tools. They're power tools.
Mhm.
And they're used for many reasons, for healing and for raising and uplifting the vibration in your environment, your home, your office, right? They're tools and they're sentient beings. So I think they're full of consciousness and deserve our respect. And they want to work with us.
Exactly.
What's
Yeah.
your, what's your favorite crystal, Laura?
I have to say amethyst.
Yeah, isn't that funny? I kind of knew that because I picked that up today and I went, huh, I haven't picked this one up. It's a palm stone of my amethyst. And I love this. Can you see it?
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
I think it's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty dark. And I picked that up today and I'm going, huh, I guess that's what we're going to work with today. That's great.
Yeah.
And why do you like
Beautiful.
amethyst?
I'm
Why
sorry.
why do you work with amethyst and you make it your favorite? What is it about it?
I love the color of it, the energy, the vibration, and it's just one that's always has called me. And going through a lot of years of healing since the near-death experience, it's just one that I've always gone to.
Wow. Well, I don't know anything about your near-death experience.
Mhm.
Maybe that's something that'll come up in this next hour. Who knows?
All right. Um, well, I want to kind of go back to like when you were in the caves, like you did say was a little bit dangerous. What kind of like energy and vibration was it? Like, aside from the environmental influences, did you feel like vibration energy, pick up on any information from the crystals while you were there?
Yes, I did. So let's go back to what selenite is. So its mineral composition is hydrated calcium sulfate, and its family name is called gypsum. So we have gypsum in our walls, right? Wallboard. That's how they make partitions and make the interiors of our houses is with gypsum because it really is a nice insulator, an absorber of heat, right? Like instead of quartz crystal like this, you put this out in the sun, it'll burn you. It can get so hot because it reflects, but gypsum absorbs. So that's why it's been used as insulation in our homes and our offices. Um, Selenite was named after the moon goddess Selene. So a long time ago, when people were in the Mediterranean and they were walking in the moonlight, they would see, this is my little satin spar stick, they would see the chatoyancy, like the shine and the reflection of this light. And in the moonlight, it reminded them of the full moon goddess Selene, which was part of the triple goddess, Hecate, Artemis, and Selene. So the name originates through the Greek mythology. That's why they named it selenite, because it's a moonstone. It's like a moon goddess stone. So it's very, very feminine. So I'm giving you these qualities because it's going to affect and influence my experience, right? So it's a cave, like a womb. It's warm. It's 132 degrees or 34 degrees when they discovered the crystals. And it was dropping down because they punched a hole in the bedrock and the heat was coming out into the tunnels of the mine. See, so it was cooling it down, and it was also draining the water levels of the aquifer. So it was cooling slowly. By the time I got in there, it was 128 degrees, still very, very deadly. But back to some of these qualities to describe this. So you have a womb, that's the mother. You have water. So, hydrated calcium sulfate it's like it's born from water. This doesn't have form. All right. It's just a mineral rich broth that over time and dehydration form these crystals, just like you put salt into a glass. All right. And you remember these experiments in science when
Yep,
you were a kid, you'd put salt into a glass and let the water evaporate, and then these crystals would just start to grow off the
yep.
sides. That's exactly how selenite was grown in these caves, exactly like that, except they were at almost 1 million years old. So a long, long time to grow that. So that kind of gives you the quality. So you're dealing with water, which is very feminine, and water holds consciousness.
Mhm.
It holds earth matrix memory. It holds memory. It's like the Akashic records. Earth holds memory. And when you're in an environment where the earth is uh, exposing water, revealing water, then you've got this memory consciousness that's also part of this. So these are things that are influencing my consciousness without me ever really thinking about it. I'm just experiencing it. So when in the crystal caves, I was really afraid. I was suffocating because of the heat. My eyeballs were burning and had to put rags over our mouth, towels, because it was so hot to breathe in this super hot sauna. 100% humidity. These are the things that will kill you because you have no way. Our sweat is what cools our organs down. And if you have no way to cool your organs down, like in a sauna where you can just open the door and walk out, then you will collapse into unconsciousness. And if you're not rescued, you'll die because your brain heats up to about Well, if it gets over 108, I think you're cooked, maybe even lower
Yeah,
than that. And
probably.
and that happened it happened in those caves. They were many years ago in 2000. They were trying to steal some of the crystals. Some of the miners were. And he collapsed, went unconscious. The other one panicked, left, ran away. Then he found somebody to come in and try to help get this guy out of there, and he was dead. He was poached. So very dangerous. So my
Mhm.
mind is the ego wants to preserve the body and survival, right? Oh my God. How do I do this? I can't even see. It's completely black in there. All I had is a miner's helmet. So when you go and look at these pictures and images on YouTube and all over the internet, whether it's you plug in my name, Leela Hutchison, or thecrystalgiants.com, or all many other places, you're going to see what NASA did. And they backlit, Nat Geo, they backlit all those crystals. And that's how they explored everything about it. Because in 2000, nobody knew how they grew. How'd that happen? And
Right.
didn't find out for a long time. So it wasn't until Nat Geo did their first documentary in 2008 and their second one in 2010. They pretty much unpacked what was going on in there. But for me, being the earliest explorer, we didn't know. We really didn't have an idea what we were going to see and experience. But what I felt were two things. I felt and heard a low hum, ultra low frequency, low hum. And I thought, well, that's must be the mining equipment, working in other tunnels because the mine's in
Mhm.
operation 24/7, and it's been operating for over 200 years. So I'm thinking this has to be the turbines pumping out the water out of the aquifer so it defloods it so they can get access to the minerals. Because if they don't do that, then it floods again and then you can't get access to anything.
Mhm.
Or it was the machinery in the tunnels that were punching up holes in the bedrock. So that's what I thought it was, but it wasn't. And that really surprised me because when you're in an environment where you're severely challenged that you could die, you you're just trying to do everything to conserve your energy. So there's nowhere to run and there's nowhere to hide. So you have to become very present. You have to become very present and listen to your body. My heart was beating very fast because it was trying to cool down the body and it can't. So what happens? The brain gets too hot and then it shuts down. That's how you go unconscious. So I was in there for about 42 minutes. We all were. Heart beating very fast. And so I knew I had to control my breath and knew that I had nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. There's not going to be an EMT that's going to be able to climb over these massive crystals and get a gurney and pick a body up and pull it out into the tunnel. Yeah, that's not going
Right.
to happen. You're going to die before that happens, or very.
Mhm.
So there was this inner resilience to really focus, be present in the face of potential death. I'm not trying to be over dramatic. In fact, I've tried to shun this off so much. Just go, that's no big deal. But it's a really big deal.
Yeah.
Because of that initiation, I also just kind of like looking at your screen behind you, you know how it has stars? Well,
Yep.
in the crystal caves, there was from our helmets and our lights, it would shine onto the caves and the crystal would reflect, right? Facets, just like a faceted diamond would or any stone, or even a natural quartz crystal. And they all have crystallography. They all have a crystal matrix and a shape to them. But it didn't feel like it was light that was being reflected. It actually felt like consciousness was watching. So how to differentiate? I don't know. At this point, you're so inward. It's like you're in a complete meditative state, but it's like a survival meditation. Every step, everything you touch, it has to be sure you can't fall. So were there real eyes in there looking like were the real beings? Well, let's just fast forward. just in case some of your listeners might think, oh, she probably just, it was her own experience. In 2010, Dr. Penelope Boston, who at that time was in charge of the director of Karst and Cave research in Socorro at New Mexico Tech, went on to become the director of astrobiology at NASA's Moffett Field in Northern California. And she granted me a 2-hour interview with her where she showed me where in that first, I think, no, second expedition that they did in 2010, they extracted water out of the crystals, like water inclusions. Have you ever seen those before, Laura, in a quartz crystal?
Yep.
So when you extract those water inclusions and they looked at those underneath a microscope, what they were seeing were alien microbes. So what does that
Wow.
mean? Well, it wasn't in a database of anything that had been documented on Earth. So later on, it's almost like the Mandela effect. The words were ancient, but no. They were alien microbes because there was nothing in any database. And what they were doing were looking for extremophiles, which are microbes that can survive on Mars.
Wow.
See, so they already had a database.
Hmm.
And when they put that in, there was nothing that matched it. It was magnesium oxide. So they were like black moldy looking drops of water that was full of life. They had been surviving on the metals and the minerals in the water for 60,000 years. So
Wow.
was there life inside those crystals looking back at me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can see that.
you can say that.
Yeah.
So does that answer your question about what I experienced in there?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and I believe everything has a consciousness. And so how would you think that those microbes got there then? Because it's under the earth. Is it something that,
So it's through the water. It's through comets.
gotcha.
So you just like, and then when they crash into the earth,
Mm-hmm.
water from space carries alien life. I wonder how much life on planet Earth came from comets, alien life.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting that the crystals are within the earth. There's not many that are outside. I mean, I guess rocks are kind of like a crystal, but they're like a whole different type of crystal. But a lot of the crystals that we think of as crystals, like selenites, amethyst, those types of things are more within the earth versus on the earth.
So when you think about a rock, it's a mineral. It's a composite of minerals. When it becomes a crystal, it becomes gem-like. See? So it becomes like its apex of its perfection when it emerges. You've seen how many times you picked up a crystal and it's really opaque, but at
Mm-hmm.
the very tips, it's crystal clear.
Yep.
So that's the gem quality of a crystal, and that becomes a gemstone and becomes expensive and rare.
So it's
That's
kind of like evolving. Yeah. As an intelligence, like a consciousness. So it's evolving just like we do, but it's just from maybe a rock into a crystal.
oh, when you think about silicon dioxide as the primary mineral on the crust, and when you pick up a quartz crystal, you're talking, and I've got a bunch of selenite. Here we go. Here's a citrine. You're looking at something that's 225 million years old. to form this.
Yeah. A long time.
A long
Yeah.
time to crystallize a mineral. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Having fun? You learning something about
Yeah,
that?
I haven't really dived into like that type of um knowledge around it, just more so, holding them, sensing them, feeling them, reading about them in, books as far as healing modalities, and
Metaphysical properties.
the properties.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, I need a
Now,
drink here.
with your selenite in the cave, I know like we have them today when we have them that we get in a store, or um, they're more refined, they're not really
Yes.
sharp.
Yeah, they use a machine to cut this and polish it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now in the caves, are they more splintery, or how did you notice the feeling
Well,
of them?
they're really solid as planks, a lot of it. And it's also what they determined that this is some of the most optically clear selenite crystal in the world that were found down there. So let me show you what I mean by optically clear, because I was only allowed to take two pieces, and I gave one piece to my sister, and she died in 2018, and I had given it to her. I said, can you help me get a computer? Because in 2001, I didn't have the money for a computer. And I said, if you can help me, I said, I need to get this out to the world. I want people to know. And I was living in the quartz crystal capital of the world in Sedona, Arizona at the time. And I said, people needs to see this. This needs to get out. Remember, this was 6 years before it really got completely full-blown publicized and documented by NASA and Nat Geo and scientists. So I got two pieces. She has one and it's disappeared. I don't know where that is. And because I loved her for what she was doing, I gave her the big piece. And this is the only other piece that the security out of the mine would allow me to take out. And I've had this now since I went in those crystal caves. So can you see this clearly?
Yep.
Okay, should I bring it closer? Okay. So I want to show you, I'm going to just turn it and I'm going to take you to a window. That's why they call it window selenite. This one. So this is, can you see how clear that is?
Yep.
So, and it's very, if you can see, it's very dense. It's really hard and it's not splintery. Now that's real window selenite. Okay.
Wow.
Satin
That's a
spar.
beautiful piece.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's a very powerful piece. This is the splintery stuff. Okay? This is satin spar. So the gypsum family has many variations of hydrated calcium sulfate. Alabaster. I'll pick her up because she's my mother segment. Well, I don't know. Can you see her? You can see her, right?
Yeah, a little bit in the background there.
She's made out of alabaster from Egypt.
Wow.
All right, mother segment. And that's one form because you see it's in that, you see that very dry environment um, in the Middle East. So there was a lot of source material where the Greeks and the Romans carved out of alabaster, made these beautiful busts. It's not really the Romans, it was the Greeks and the Sumerians and the Babylonians. They carved out of that. The other two are desert flower and gypsum rose.
Hmm.
So some are lenticular. Then comes the satin spar, and then the window selenite, which is the clearest. So those
Beautiful.
are the five variations of the family of hydrated calcium sulfate. Now, where were we
Beautiful.
going with that?
I was just asking about how it was like how they are like in the formation under the earth,
How
if they were.
they look like, and again, people can see, they can go online, but This is what they looked like, Laura.
Beautiful.
40-foot tall selenite crystal.
They're huge and massive. Yeah.
So
So
then you're talking about what are the energies? So my theories about the energies of these selenite crystals are that they're transmitters and receivers of information, right?
now are they because okay, so the crystals have their own properties and they're unique. And so I'm assuming that they're going to be cleansing and clearing because we do use them, to cleanse and clear. So are they helping to cleanse and clear the earth?
Bingo, bingo. Good girl. Yes. So
Awesome.
water's a natural purifier anyway, but selenite is an angelic stone. It doesn't hold a program. This is a quartz crystal. It's piezoelectric. It holds a signal. It holds programs. It's used in watches. It's used in computers.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's programmable. What does that mean? That means it can be programmed with either negative energy or positive energy, or it could be programmed from the past or the future. So this has to be constantly cleansed and repurposed. Does that make sense? You want to
Yep.
clear it of its programs because thoughts are embedded in quartz crystal. Interesting.
Yeah.
Selenite, on the other hand, is it doesn't hold any program. It's just clear and clean energy. It's just perpetual white light. White light.
Right.
So when you use it in your home, it's purifying, protecting, clearing, and cleaning. That's what
Okay.
makes selenite such a precious addition to if you want to call it a crystal collection, like I said, they're tools to me. I no longer sell pretty things. I used to, but I really I love Mother Earth and I want to work with her because you just said it yourself. The light came on and you said, oh, maybe they have something to do with cleaning and clearing the earth as well.
Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking, okay, so there's got to be a grid somehow.
Oh, there's a grid.
There's
Yeah.
a grid of crystals around the earth. And I don't know, is there like a map that shows where all the different caves of different types of crystals or where they're connected around the world?
Not
Does
that
it have anything to do with anything that's
not that I know of. There could be, but maybe not for purposes for you and me. Maybe for
Mhm.
others. But in esoteric materials and research that I have done, and research requires a lot of study and reading, right? And
right?
experience, that there probably, well, first of all, Dr. Boston, Penelope Boston, I asked her, I said, do you think there's any more of these crystal clusters in the earth? And she really couldn't speak to that because she's in one location, but she said, we could feel air. We couldn't get through some of these passages because they were overgrown like a geode. They couldn't get through it, but they know that there's more crystals below that are selenites clusters. So yes, there are probably even larger crystals because this is, it's born from water. And where did the water come from? It was an aquifer that's beneath the Chihuahuan Desert.
Right. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
because I'm thinking like up in New York, they have what are they? There's crystals up there. Can't remember the name of them. Hemi starts with an H, I think. Herkimer.
Yeah, their main property is dolomite. Yeah, I shouldn't say main because it's silica dioxide, but it has dolomite in it. They're kind of gray, but they're
Right.
double terminated. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Covered diamonds. Yeah.
Yeah. Because yeah, until like we're having this conversation, I'm like, there's got to be a way, and why they're in certain locations and what their actual role and purpose is and why they're in that area on a bigger perspective. Do you know what I mean? There's a reason they're in those locations, and the thing they're what they're performing,
Yeah, in service to,
the earth and the humanity.
that's right, and perfection, God's perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Source.
Yep. And you did mention so UFOs and ETs. Can we dive a little bit more into that conversation?
Well, I'm gonna prefer to call them non-human intelligences, NHIs. And that can encompass many things. It can be orbs, plasma orbs. It can be, and they float, right? They can be lights that float that can be seen through night vision goggles. They can be in a formation. So if you've ever done any night vision sky sighting, right? If you've not done that, that's a really great thing to do. And with the right goggles, which cost probably $4,000 to $6,000, they're military grade. You can it. I think what it does is it amplifies the light in the sky, the starlight, times 50,000. Right, so it makes it very bright. And when you see an object that starts to move, that's not normal, then you know you're looking at UFO activity, right? You're looking at craft.
Right.
So that's part of it. And in the Chihuahuan Desert, we have, I don't want to go into too much about it because I do have a second book that I wrote and documented about some of it, but this is very well known. Everything I wrote about regarding the UFO crashes, people can find on the internet. But my book ties it back into the Chihuahuan Desert, which ties it back in to the crystals. Because remember, we were saying, well, if this is cleansing and clearing, what if they're sending out a transmission of signals?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so this is the second book and that I wrote. This is the 20 years of research. So contact in the Chihuahuan Desert. So it's based on this one, the selenite crystals that were found, and all the paranormal and phenomena and non-human intelligences that have been reported, seen, and documented in the Chihuahuan Desert. Part of that, I've been part of that, I should say, because in order to know some of this stuff, you have to be a field researcher. So I got out into my truck and I drove thousands and thousands of miles into the Southwest Desert and really wanted to know, as I told you, when I had this experience, why me? What's this all about? So there's what I think my theory is that these crystals are sending out some kind of a transmission out into outer space, and that these signals are being picked up by NHIs, okay, that are in the form of spacecraft, unidentified flying objects, unidentified aerial phenomena. And so these sightings that have happened in the Chihuahuan Desert, we've had several crashes. The most famous is Roswell in 1947. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I heard of it.
Yeah. So that is where this down craft was reported in Roswell, and they've denied it, but 5 bodies, alien bodies, were recovered from that aircraft. 4 of them were dead, 1 lived. Taken to Wrights-Patterson Air Force Base, so they say. So it's all in my second book about that, just to make that connection. That's been really fascinating, and there's been other crashes and crash retrievals in the Chihuahuan Desert. There's also a connection to the Tarahumara running people, which is an indigenous Native American tribe that live in northern Mexico that are the fastest runners in the world. They're connected to the giant crystals right there, the Occidentals. Nika is a Raramari word in the Tarahumara language. So they even named the site hundreds of years ago. There's Pancho Villa had a shaman who was a Tarahumara and literally used as a talisman of protection the selenite crystal. So I learned a lot about that. Also, there were giants that were discovered in Copper Canyon. So mining's a big deal. So something is happening with non-human intelligences. It's happening with extraterrestrials that are coming to Earth and exploring, because I think giants were not human.
Hmm.
I think they were brought here. And so they were found all over the world. That's been completely hidden up too. I mean, there's some information, but it's not widespread. So there's many things connected to this Chihuahua Desert that have had me thinking like, wow, there's a lot of phenomena, a lot of high strangeness that's happened.
Very unique in how it all comes about, especially in those areas where everything's going on. And I also are kind of thinking, well, obviously, if we have the crystals and everything here, and if it's coming in here and it got into the caves and the water,
Right,
it
the microbes through the water from comets. Yeah.
right. So it's going to be there's most likely like crystals and other planets too as well.
Oh, I think Source probably created a template of many Earths based on what we see and what we're experiencing. Not based on, maybe many times before. It's a perfect template to create life in the
Hmm.
cosmos.
Yeah.
Is for the Adam Kadmon, the divine human, to explore consciousness. So I think there's multiple Earths, not quite like this, but similar.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's the kind of compositions of water and minerals.
Yeah. Definitely. And so do you see any, you may not know like the answer to this question, but it kind of raises a question for me. So with the pyramids, do you think they use crystals in the pyramids, more like a power station, or do you think, because there's been a lot of talk about that, like within the last year, is it more of a power station? Was it really a tomb? Or what were the pyramids? And they're uncovering things underneath it too, as well.
They were sound resonators. They were frequency. And it's also made out of granite. Granite is a capacitator, right? It has a capacitor, not capacitator, capacitor of in little grains of quartz crystals in the granite. So they're amplifying frequency.
Wow. Yeah. And I kind of feel that when I listen to some of the conversations and I'm like, yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a tomb. And maybe they did use a little bit of a tomb, but I feel like it's more um for like, whether it's UFO or whatever the case may be, energizer, energy. And maybe it was just a template at that time, that era.
I mean, wow, what a mystery. I don't know about you, but it's definitely on my bucket list before it all kind of flies all by. I really want to go to Egypt and experience that. I just not sure the timing right now. The political environment is so great, but
Hmm. Me too. It's on the bucket list. For sure. Yeah.
all right. So these selenite crystal transmissions are based on I worked with numbers. I work with solar returns and with transits and natal charts. I also I work with my own intuitive guidance. I have a brief, I don't want to call it a questionnaire. It's basically I'm asking people why do they want to work with me and what is it they truly desire? What are they wanting? So how can I help? How can I help them see what they want to see or need to see that they might be blocked from? It might be emotional blockages because of trauma and all kinds of things. So really my job is to, and I'm not easy to work with. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna return a reading that's just, let's see, how do you say it? Without it being with more gravitas, that we're here to reawaken to remembering who we truly are. So it's about getting out of denial and getting out of laziness, taking on some discipline and the courage, right, for change
Mhm.
so that we can embody our sovereignty. That's really my mission and my purpose. My healing, certainly with, with locals and where I live in Northern California. And I have done remotes as well. But it's all part of the same, I think, under the selenite crystal transmissions. Um, and that's been a service I've been doing now for 30 years, since the 90s, when I started to wake up myself. What a journey it's been.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. And now, is selenite your favorite crystal, or do you have a different one?
Well, I love her because she's so gentle, right? And she's, for me, the highest vibration of protection, right? So I love my selenite. But I'm also very interested in apophyllite. That's an incredible stone. And I do love, on the quartz crystals, I do love citrine. It's hard to find a real natural citrine that's well, my shirt's kind of, you can see it's got a yellow, but it's not deeply saturated. But I love citrine quartz. Um, that's one of my favorite, but it's hard. It's hard. There's so many that are beautiful and fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's hard to just pick one. I love them all. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Also, what we should do? We should recommend, um, if people really, just, I don't know if you've done this with crystals, but there's the Crystal Bible. There's a lot of books out there that can help people research how to work with a certain crystal. Now, when I do crystal layouts on the body, I have probably a hundred crystals on a table, and they're all categorized by color, of course, right? For the seven chakras and beyond, maybe the eighth, and the core crystal, which is in the earth. So they look at these crystals and then kind of go into a meditative state, and I ask them to choose one. And it's not about being a favorite as much as it is, what is that energy that you need today? And so it's a lovely way to help, practitioners as well. If you have a good book, somebody picks one of your crystals, and then you could start to really unpack why they chose that crystal, what it correlates with, what organs is it working with, what causal body is it working with. See, so it makes it really is important. I think I would encourage any of your crystal practitioners that are listening to, I'm sure they do, but if they don't, to have a really good compendium, encyclopedic type of book that will actually give many variations of different crystals and their metaphysical meanings.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of them that are really good out there. Yeah, and I've kind of utilized those to help me along my journey with it. There was another, and it kind of reminds me when you were saying meditating, with the crystals. Part of what I've done, and I've gotten really amazing results and effects in like out of body astral journeys with it, which was really interesting. I didn't know what I was doing until I did it, and then I had the experience, and I would sit and meditate, and I would actually put the crystals around me. And I would ask which crystal goes where. So I was gridding the space that I was in. And
Oh,
then when I went into meditation, it was so interesting. One time it was like I went into the crystal and I got some information. And then there was times where I was out of the body and I was going on different out of body experience journeys. So it was really interesting.
fantastic. Yes, it's like remote viewing, right? You went right into
Mhm.
crystal. Well, there's a lot of information about that where there's a there's an atomic structure where there's a black hole space within a quartz crystal. So it might be taking us into other dimensions
Mhm.
to meditate. Very cool.
Yeah, so that was interesting. Yeah, the journey with Crystal is amazing. I love it. So
Good. Well,
yeah.
thank you. Well, I hope this was helpful and insightful and illuminating, and, you know,
Yeah,
for people who will listen to your program. And
yeah.
it was a
Now,
pleasure to be
do
here.
you foresee yourself going in any other crystal caves, or I'm assuming that not everybody or anybody can just go in there. They have to have some kind of clearance.
I don't have, when I went in there, I got what I needed. I mean, I mean, to go backward to see the beauty of it, but we're living in an environment where things are pretty dangerous as far as returning to Mexico right now. That's probably not something I would be doing. Um, but yeah, I would be open to that as well. And I have done a little bit of exploring. I can't pull up anything immediately because life is it's been busy in different ways in the last couple of years, especially finally getting out 20 years of research. That was a difficult book for me to finally just collate all of my, 25 journals and pull out all the information to write the book.
Right. Beautiful.
Thank you. I've
You're
kind of
welcome.
direction also and focusing a lot on my health, and that's been really important to me, and my spiritual, hygiene and my meditation and what I do to really keep my energy and frequency up. I think it's been,
Beautiful.
yeah, that's where I've been my focus lately.
All right. And is there any other topics that you feel would be very important to share with the audience?
Oh, I think we covered everything that I really wanted to give 100% of what I knew, and I hope that's been illuminating for people. And if they have any questions, they can certainly get a hold of me. They can contact me. I have a contact form on my Crystal Giants if they want to reach me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so much, Leila, for joining us today. I love this conversation. Crystals are so fun. If you haven't tried them, audience, definitely recommend it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Have a blessed weekend.
All right. You too as well.